Hello and welcome to the absolutely beautiful, stunning island of Koh Adang in the Andaman Sea. Now, Koh Adang is about a mile from Koh Lipe. It's about 25 miles from Langkawi and about 40 miles from the Thai mainland.
And we are staying at the beautiful three-star resort called Adang Resort, which is only one of two places that you can stay on in the whole of Koh Adang.
I'm John.
And I'm Lou of Independent Travel Reviews. So let's start with how we got here. We were actually staying on Koh Lipe at the Lipe Garden Beach Resort. Now we had to check out of there at 11 o'clock and they kindly provided us a free tuk-tuk taxi which took us from Pattaya Beach, where the resort is located, all the way to the northern tip of Sunrise Beach to the Zodiac Sun Resort.
Yeah, and I think we should say at this point we are reviewing the Lipe Garden View. Is it Garden View Resort?
Lipe Garden Beach Resort.
So we are reviewing the Lipe Garden Beach Resort in another video. Really good accommodation, by the way, thoroughly recommended. And the free transfer to the other side of the island to go to Koh Adang was all part of the service, which was great.
So the tuk-tuk taxi took about 10 minutes to reach the Zodiac Sun Resort, where we were met by the Adang transfer team, and they kindly carried our bags down to the complimentary waiting longtail boat, and that was about a 3-minute walk. We clambered in up some steps. It was only me and John on the boat. And then it took about 10 minutes to cross over to Koh Adang, to the Adang Resort here.
Yeah, it's an adventure in itself, the transfer. It's absolutely brilliant. And they then you arrive at the beach here, and this kind of tractor comes and collects your luggage, and then you walk into this lovely reception area where we're sitting now.
Which is where we're now, yes. And you're greeted with a welcome drink, and they check you in. They kind of take a copy of your passports. They go over what the resort provides. You have to choose your breakfast for the next morning because that's included. And luckily at 11:30, was it? 11:30 our room was ready, so we were taken to our room and we could begin our adventure.
Yeah, so we booked the most basic room, which I think is called a garden view room, or classic garden view room, I think it might be called. So here it is. It's absolutely adequate. So I don't know how old this resort is. It's a tiny bit dated, but that's great really, because it fits in with the surroundings really well. You get air conditioning, a little bathroom with a shower, and you get free bottles of water. There's no fridge, that's the only thing which is perhaps could be a little bit better, but other than that, and it's immaculately clean. Staff are really friendly and smiley, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So I booked this hotel through booking.com, and it cost us a staggering £47 per night, which includes breakfast. Right, as I said, we booked through booking.com, and that's where the only negative thing I've really got to say about this whole place comes from. I knew through booking.com that you had to get in contact to organise the ferry over here, because that's the only way of getting here from Koh Lipe. I emailed them through booking.com, I emailed them directly, and
I tried to ring them from the UK on the number that they gave on their website, and there was never a reply.
Never a reply. So I did get a little bit annoyed by that. John remained totally calm, and when we got to Koh Lipe, what did you do?
So when we got to Koh Lipe, I looked on their website again, and I actually found a section about transfers, which I'm showing you now, and included in that section is a WhatsApp, a number. So I put that in my phone, sent them a WhatsApp message, and within seconds they responded saying, oh yes, when would you like to come? So I think that WhatsApp is probably the best way to communicate.
Yeah, so basically as soon as we'd sorted that out, everything else was really good.
So the food here so far has been really good. We had read some reports that it was as expensive, but as you can see from these prices, it's pretty reasonable. It's possibly slightly more expensive than it is on Koh Lipe, but a tiny amount, and the quality is really good, and the drinks are not expensive. So a Diet Coke, for example, is about 25 baht, a beer is about 80 baht, and that's pretty competitive really compared with what we saw on Koh Lipe, isn't it?
Yes.
So apart from relaxing at the really lovely pool area, which you really liked, didn't you?
Yeah, the pool area is fantastic, and to be honest, I wasn't even sure there was a pool here when we arrived, so it was a really lovely surprise. And it's good to relax around the pool because they do not have any massage services here, so get all those on Koh Lipe.
But apart from the pool area and relaxing, there are kind of three, I suppose, main activities that you can do. One of them is a hike to a small waterfall. It's about 30 minutes hike to one side of the resort. It's all clearly marked, as you can see, and the trail is pretty clear. I think you probably are better off having trainers on. Would you agree?
Definitely, that it was a harder trail than I was expecting, and there was just one point where you had to go up a slightly large boulder with a rope. And I have to say, unless I had my husband giving me a push from behind, I'm not sure I would have made it by myself.
But when you get there, it's worth the trip. Even in the dry season, which we're in now, when there's not a lot of water in the rivers, the waterfall has some water in it. There's a little pool, as you can see, you can go swimming in. And yeah, it's a really nice trip. About half an hour's walk there, probably half an hour at the waterfall, and then half an hour's hike back.
Yeah, we were only expecting a trickle because it is dry season, but it was definitely more than that. But the only other thing I would say is, obviously our path was lovely and dry because it's the dry season. I'd be a bit apprehensive if it had been raining and that it would have been really wet and slippy.
Yeah, I think if it had been raining, it would have been quite slippery. I'm not sure I would have felt as confident. It would have been okay going up. I think coming down would perhaps have been a bit more of a challenge. Now, the second activity you can do is a hike to the other main beach here on Koh Adang, and then up to the viewpoint. And we did that. Now, our advice would be to do that early. So we were up at 6:30 just as it got light, and we hiked through the kind of forest, which takes about half an hour to get to the next beach along.
Which is further than we thought. We didn't realise, we thought it was going to be quicker, but it's a half-hour walk to the next resort.
And it's a similar kind of hike to the waterfalls, so it's all very, very clearly marked. And then you come out on the kind of western end of the beach, walk along the beach.
Through the campsite.
There's a campsite there, and there's also some accommodation there, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you start going up this kind of path up the cliff. And that was quite a challenge, wasn't it? It's not quite what we were expecting.
It was tough. It took us, from the start of the trail up, it took us 33 minutes. The guys told me it would be an hour, so I was quite pleased with that, but it was challenging. I was out of breath and I was very sweaty.
It's a bit like, and one of our videos coming up is about a hike up Kilimanjaro, and it's a little bit like a mini version of the Barranco Wall in the heat without the altitude, I suppose is how I would describe it. But when you get to the top, it is well worth it, isn't it?
Yeah, they say there's 3 viewpoints. We're not sure whether we found number 1 because there was no sign, but I think we did, and you didn't really get a good view from number 1. Everyone had said that. So then we went up to number 2, which was about another 10 minutes, and you get a clear view of Koh Lipe from there. But everyone said keep going to viewpoint 3, so we did, which was like another 10 minutes. And yeah, it was stunning, but I don't think there was much difference between 2 and 3. But if you're going to do it, you might as well go all the way to the top.
If you're going to do it, you might as well do it well.
Get up to viewpoint 3, make sure you take loads of water. Again, definitely wear trainers. It's a strenuous climb up and down. It then took about 28 minutes to get back down to the bottom of the path, and then another half hour to get back to this hotel. So in total, we were away from the Adang resort for about 2 hours 20.
Yeah.
But
because we'd started off early, we literally didn't see another tourist
No,
at all for the
just
whole
us.
2.5 hours, which was great. And again, it's another one that I would recommend you probably think twice about doing if it's wet, because particularly you're coming down rocks, which I would imagine would be quite slippery.
Yeah.
So that's the first two activities. The third activity is kayaking and snorkeling. So we here at the resort, they have free kayaks and snorkeling gear which you can borrow. They're 2-person kayaks. So we kayaked up to the other beach. Took us, I suppose, about 30 odd minutes to get there. And then we did a little bit of snorkeling, spent a bit of time on the beach. And yeah, that was good, wasn't it? It's quite hard work going there because you were kayaking against the wind and the current. Coming back was a little bit easier, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then come back and just relax. Far too much activities going on here.
This place is a real contrast to Koh Lipe, isn't it?
Yes, it's very peaceful, very quiet. You come and have your dinner, which is set times, 5:30 till 8:30. And then that's basically it. There's no entertainment, there's nothing happening here, which is just gorgeous. So you just go onto the beach and chill on some sunbeds and just relax and look at the night sky. But also,
yeah, so there's bioluminescent shrimps or fish or something
I
in
let
the
John
sea.
say that.
At least I think that's how you pronounce it. And basically they kind of glow this kind of bluey green in the dark. So the best time to see them is after 9 o'clock at night. And try and be away from the kind of the light sources, and you just kind of kick up the sand just on the shore and you'll see these things glowing, and it's really cool.
Yeah, just go and paddle in and suddenly they kind of appear all around you. It's very special.
So there are basically 2 beaches here on Koh Adang. The one that our resort is on, and then the other one that we mentioned that you can hike or kayak to. Now on that other beach is the kind of national park office, and they've got a campground there. So apparently, we didn't test this out, but you can hire tents and camping equipment and you can camp there.
There were people camping there.
Yeah.
There's probably about 10 tents.
Yeah, and it actually looked really clean, and it had showers and toilets and all that.
It looked really nice,
thing.
I have to say. Not that I would camp, I have to say. I've got to an age where that doesn't appeal to me in such hot climates. But as well as the camping, there were about 8 bungalows.
Yeah, there was, I don't know, 8, 10, 15 bungalows. I'm not really sure how many, but they are, I believe, are owned by the national park, and you can rent them from the national park. The kind
How
of
much were
information,
they?
well, we think they're about 1,500 baht per night. But there's a couple of things to note. We're not absolutely sure because it was quite difficult to get information because they didn't actually speak great English, being honest. But we think they're about 1,500 baht a night. The one thing to note, whilst they do have air conditioning, the electricity is only switched on between 6 at night and 6 in the morning. So you get light when it's dark. And you get air conditioning when it's dark, but you don't during the day. But it's a pretty cool place to stay.
They look really nice,
If
and
you
they
don't
overlook
want
the water, don't they?
If you don't want the luxury of a resort like this, then it's a good option if you want something that's perhaps a little bit more back to nature without camping.
So that's it for our video on Koh Adang and the Adang Resort, which we both thoroughly recommend. It's absolutely beautiful. It's just peace and quiet and lovely. You probably would combine it with a trip to Koh Lipe because that's where you have to get here. But it's such a contrast, and both are probably really worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people have said Koh Lipe is not what it was 10 years ago. It's got a lot busier. We still absolutely loved it, but I think this place is probably more like what Koh Lipe was 10 years ago, and combining the two together has been an absolutely brilliant trip, a lovely adventure, amazing climate, lovely people, thoroughly recommended.